52.
Yeah, because
Oh, it's
Batman
intended to be a
gets
rebirth
that
story.
godly chair and it reveals that there's 3 Jokers. So that's more I always felt was just baggage from New 52.
Oh, but
No,
that's
because that was John's idea.
Yeah, that's in the story rebooting the universe, though. So I don't know. That's
The
kind of a
Dark
gray
Side
area.
War didn't reboot the universe.
Okay, John. Okay, so the Dark Side War was like the last big event of New 52 that I believe Jeff Johns wrote. That leads into the Rebirth special that Johns wrote, where the 3 Jokers thing is mentioned again. Like that's all part of Jeff Johns' plan. That's not baggage carry over from someone else.
No, what's stupid about Rebirth is them bringing Watchmen into it.
That was the the big red flag. That was okay. Let's also a John's idea, also a book that took forever to come out.
I've always hated
The
hated that
is
idea.
a dumb book.
But,
I
the button was awful.
I refuse to read Doomsday Clock.
That's what we're gonna use to bring our Batman channel back.
That's a perfectly timed merchant sound effect after you said that.
Yeah, Doomsday Clock is such a mess. I think there's a decent Watchmen sequel buried in there. It's made with a lot of effort and passion. It's just kind of it's just a bad idea in the first place and doesn't ultimately, I don't think, justify its existence.
Inherently, I am against the idea of having those characters meet.
Yeah.
Because the Watchmen characters are supposed to be dark reflections of, well, they're Charlton Comics characters.
Technically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
So this is gonna be really stupid and nerdy.
Oh no!
But it's shit people were speculating on at the time. This would have been a wild, crazy retcon. So in the DC universe, this goes back decades. There's like this big thing that comes up occasionally, where when we see the hand of God creating the universe, it is a big blue hand. Like this goes back before Watchmen. And then at some point, somebody got the idea, like, what if that's Dr. Manhattan?
What if we're Dr. Manhattan?
That's why that happens. But then, even then, they kind of, like, backpedal on that. Like, they don't fully go all the way with that idea.
Oh, hey, Tyler, how's it going?
Hello, Tyler.
I'm not saying they should or shouldn't have. I'm just saying that's, like, where that idea comes from.
I have PTSD from this part of the game from my last playthrough.
The one positive thing I can say for sure about Doomsday Clock is the art's great by Gary Frank. I need to read more of his stuff because his art is gorgeous.
Yeah, I like his art in the little bit of Jeff Johns Superman that I've read. Although his Superman doesn't look a little too similar to Christopher Reeve, just to the point where it's uncanny. But
when did Jeff Johns write Superman?
Really what's that? Like Secret Origin and I think Brainiac. Those stories.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that's Johns.
Yeah, that's Jeff Johns.
And I don't remember if he does New 52 Superman or if that's somebody else. He does Justice League.
No, New 52... Oh God, I don't even remember now.
Yeah, because Grant Morrison did the Action Comics New 52.
Yeah.
Right, I heard that was really good.
That's not Jeff... No, but yeah, New 52 Superman's not Jeff Johns, because I think he was just doing, like, Justice League.
Yeah, and some, like, one-off books. Yeah, Rebirth is just, like, such a weird era where, like, you have Doomsday Clock, where, like, that starts as, like, the big DC Universe event thing that we're building to, and that book takes so long to come out that by the time you get to the end of it, it's like, this isn't really impacting the rest of the universe, this is just kind of happening over there. And then the 3 Jokers book is basically just a Black Label thing by the time that actually happens.
Well,
even
and I
though it's
remember
set
there
up in
was
continuity.
there was a lot of like hope for Rebirth after just like the sludge that New 52 had become.
Yeah. No,
And
the
looking-
start of Rebirth was a big deal.
Yeah, and looking back, like I don't know how many of those books are going to be remembered in 10 years.
I know.
If I'm in cover, how can they fucking hit me?
They have boomerang bullets.
Like Tom King's Batman sucks. Nobody talks about the Green Arrow run, which I did enjoy.
Yeah, because when I think of like acclaimed stuff, it's usually like the miniseries stuff. Like I don't remember if Mr. Miracle was Black Label or if that was just a regular book, but you know that's just a 12-issue mini. That's not an ongoing.
Nobody talks about the Flash book.
Yeah.
I think Super Sons has its fan base, as it should. That book was quite
Yes.
good.
Yeah. And then it got fucked over when by like the date. You know, that's how you have like Batman 89. Which, for the record, I have only ever referred to Batman 89 as that because of Cap. I've never heard anyone else call that movie.
I've never heard anybody else call it that. It's just Batman or Burton's Batman.
Right.
I've heard it more recently.
So I tend to fall on referring to movies like by the director that like Superman. I don't call Superman 78. I just refer to that as Donner Superman. And the new one, I've been seeing people call Superman 25, and that's like really weird to me. Like I call it James Gunn's Superman. That's what I. Noah, do you have a preference? Do you have thoughts on this?
You know, Robert, you don't call it S25 man.
Or that.
I was just about to say when you said that was the first thing I thought of. I saw some people refer to it as that.
It's so funny.
Honestly, and I think it's just because of like a recency bias thing. I've just been referring to the new Superman movie as just Superman, and I feel like most people know what I'm talking about, just because it's new. But maybe in a few years, I don't know, I could see myself saying James Gunn's Superman or Superman 25, because with the 78 movie, I mostly say Superman 78. Like, I don't know, that just sounds right to me.
I've just never had that. I also refer to it as Superman the movie because it is sometimes called that. Like in
What do you mean
marketing and
sometimes?
stuff.
I feel like that's just the title.
It's not. Like the official title is just Superman, but on some of the advertising, that they would refer to it as Superman the movie.
Yeah.
So
But
I
refer to it as Richard Donner Superman.
I tend to
Part of it
switch it
is-
up. Sometimes I'll just say like Batman 89 because that's shorter than saying Tim Burton's Batman.
Right, exactly.
Sometimes I'll just be like Keaton's Batman. Sometimes
Mhm.
Batman 89 at least does have that thing where it is technically the only film called just Batman.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. For me, a lot of it is kind of a shorthand thing where it's just easier to say Superman 78 than Richard Donner's Superman. Takes up less time.
Anime fan says he likes the new Superman film, but he's not a big fan of the film's take on Lex Luthor, so he wishes that Lex wasn't coming back. I mean, I have bad news,
Let's see
but
what they do with it.
he's going to be in every Superman related thing. That is just the
Yeah.
Lex Luthor.
I like Lex.
He's the most comic book accurate one.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, referring to movies by dates makes sense for like older movies. When I say older movies, I mean movies that were made before any of us were born and existed. But I do not ever see myself referring to this new movie as Superman 25. I'm not ready for that.
I'm fine
I
with
might
that.
just call it Gun Superman.
That's what I do.
Superman
Wait, like-
25 is easier to say, or just Superman. At this point, I think it's acceptable to say one is Superman, the other is Superman the movie.
But
Oh, for God's sakes!
my only thing with that is I've referred to Superman 78 as just Superman for a very long time.
That sounds like a skill issue. God damn it!
No, just because that was the only movie that was just called Superman up until now. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, like with James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, I don't usually call it that. Just say The Suicide Squad, and if I emphasize the, hopefully people will know which one I'm talking about.
I do too, but that is a more confusing one, or at least I see people get confused about it more frequently. I always call it Guns Squad or James Gunn's
Gun
Squad.
Squad.
Gun Squad.
I like Gun Squad.
Hell yeah. But
is that a
its title.
spinoff of Police Squad?
Yes. They're making it right now.
I think we should just make a movement to erase the 2016 Suicide Squad from history, and then there'll only be one.
Well, that is funny though. We usually refer to that as Suicide Squad 2016. I never hear Guns film referred to as Suicide Squad 2021.
Yeah, why?
Because it's replaced it.
Yeah, that's the Suicide Squad, bro.
Yeah, the first one, that was just some other Suicide Squad. This one is the Suicide Squad.
So, Anime Fan says he thinks the new Lex is too one-dimensional and angry, but that he likes Nicholas Hoult as an actor. I didn't have that problem with it. I'm not saying you should...
I didn't feel that.
How do you mean one-dimensional? I mean, obviously, your opinion is your opinion, but I disagree greatly.
I got enough of, like, seeing behind the veil in his persona, what he really is and what makes him tick. Is there more we could delve into in sequels? Sure. I want to see that.
I will say...
God. Oh, God. No.
Uh-oh. I'm not with Anime Fan on I feel like he's a one-dimensional character. I do feel like this is part of the big problem I have with the movie, though, is that there is a lot in it, and it's only 2 hours long, and we don't get enough downtime with a lot of the characters. So, even on, like, just after one viewing, I can see why someone would think that
go watch it again.
Is just a Alright, whatever. I won't make that point if you're just gonna do that.
Sorry, no. Just joking.
Yeah, but, I disagree with those people, but I get why they're saying that.
To your point, Noah, because I also love the movie. My big gripe with it is I wish it was 5 or 10 minutes longer. And there's a couple scenes where I definitely like more downtime with some of the side characters. Now, there are other characters. The first time I watched it, I wanted more with Ma and Pa Kent, and I didn't have that problem as much on another viewing when I knew where it was going and what they were doing with it. I still think you need, like, a couple more references or shots of them, like, in the first half. Like, but that's like that's a nitpick.
Yeah, I just need a little bit more with them.
They serve their purpose in the story.
Well, for example, after the spoiler alert for Superman, FYI, that movie's been out a while now. When the big leak, like the news comes out about the message, and everyone turns on Superman, there is like one quick insert shot where we look at his phone, in Clark's phone, and see that he has a bunch of missed calls from his parents that he's not returning. That's good. Like, that needs to be there. You could also have, when everyone's looking on before that, when everyone's looking on the TV watching the news, I need a reaction shot from Ma and Pa during that montage. Like, I want to actually see them watching the TV and reacting to that news. And then everything plays out the way it does. That's what I mean. It's just a couple more shots, a couple more references. Just to have their presence there just a little more in the first half. But that's just my opinion. And also, when we actually meet them in the flesh, and Lois meets them, and Clark's sick, like, that whole scene's great. we get the scene with Clark and Pa after that, which is, I think, one of the best and most important scenes of the movie. Before Lois leaves, I want a scene. This is a big moment of downtime I want. Before Lois leaves, I want a scene of her talking to and seeing more of their interaction for a minute. That's a big one that I think could have given us more downtime and been necessary. It worked for the story.
Yeah, I think if the movie was like 2 hours 15 minutes,
Yeah.
It would fix some of the just like pacing issues that I have with it.
Yeah, and I had minor pacing issues with it. Nothing that severe. But like,
Nothing. It's nothing that kills the movie for me.
exactly, yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I think that movie's almost perfectly paced. You get everything you need.
Yeah. Well, there's also a couple of action scenes in the back half I thought went on a little longer than they need to that I would have shaved down by like a minute. But
Like
again,
what?
just nitpicky. The big one is when they're in the pocket dimension and then Clark's stuck in like the lava thing. Like that, bits like that I think go on a while, and I'm like, okay, I don't need this sequence to still be going. But again, it's a gripe. It's not a big deal.
Oh yeah, Anime just pointed out that Jimmy's really funny in the movie. Actually, all my issues would be fixed if Superman was just cut out and it was just a Jimmy. He's the best character.
I hope they make a Jimmy Olsen show. I think that'd be great.
Noah has revealed himself as a fraud.
No, Jimmy, he's the new CEO of Sex.
That is true. And to that point, Tyler asks, what do we think of Jimmy being a ladies' man? That happens more frequently than you'd expect. A lot of people were really shocked by that choice for some reason.
No, it's just...
Well, it's because most people aren't exposed to a lot of Jimmy Olsen.
It's because we
and
never adapt
new
Jimmy
Superman
anymore.
stuff.
That's true.
Yeah. Get him. The most you see of Jimmy now, he's either getting shot in the face in the desert, or in My Adventures with Superman. He's good in that show, but it's not exactly the same take.
Or Supergirl, where that is a completely different character.
Oh. Jesus Christ.
Run.
Anime fan says he hopes Perry White gets a bigger role in the sequel. I agree. Or again, like a Jimmy Olsen spinoff, a Daily Planet spinoff. That's where you can get a lot more of those side characters.
I don't feel quite as strongly about this as wanting more downtime with Mon Pa Kent, but it was a shame that we didn't get a whole lot of Perry, but what he did have to do is pretty good, and that's perfect casting, too.
Yes. Also, with that Man of Tomorrow movie, based on the little information we have, I'm looking forward to it still being, like, Superman-centric, at least in that world. A big thing I want for a while is just to stay in Metropolis and explore more of that side. I don't want to jump in. I don't want to just stop making Superman movies and just make, like, Justice League movies, you know what I mean? Like, Superman has a big supporting cast and other villains and stuff. I'd like to live
Yes,
for a while.
the movie using one of Superman's monikers, that'll be the Justice League movie.
Okay. That's what I...
Well, no, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think there's any chance of that happening in this movie.
Well, I mean, we could be pretty... And I'm not saying I'm worried about that. I'm saying...
Oh,
I'm
so maybe I
glad we're-
misunderstood. If I did, that's
Yeah.
my bad.
Oh, totally cool. Yeah, what I was trying to say was I'm glad we're staying Superman-centric for a while.
No, Robert, we need BVS.
No. Well, I mean, but also, I do... God, don't do that.
Robert
Yeah,
just
well,
like turned
that's
into
what-
Pinhead. Don't do that.
But I do expect the Justice Gang to be in that movie. Am I worried about it being like a proto-Justice League movie? Not really. I don't think it'll be that. But yeah, like I'm sure the Justice Gang and other characters will show up in
this isn't directed to you specifically, but anyone who is legitimately worried about that either didn't watch Superman or is media illiterate.
Right. Oh, that is. Still see some people complain about that. I'm like, okay, they're in like 3 scenes. That is not an ensemble.
Yeah, but I mean, people still complain about Iron Man in Homecoming, and he's in that movie like 5 minutes.
Right. That is not a Spider-Man Iron Man TV
oh.
movie.
Yeah, no, that is a... Are people still complaining about the Justice Gang's presence even after the movie came out?
Yes. I've seen that from some people.
I've never seen that. That's crazy.
The problem with Superman criticism is that online discourse has ruined any faith I have in legitimate criticism of this film. So I don't know how many people have legitimate problems and how many are just having bad faith takes.
Yeah. Because I get it. It's one thing being worried that Superman's going to be overshadowed, or at least like being forced to play in a more ensemble cast when that cast was first announced and before the movie came out. But now that the movie's out, you see that that's not the case.
Anime fan says that Mr. Terrific is in Superman a lot. That's true. He's in the most of them. He's still a supporting character.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is Superman's conflict that is the center of the film.
Yes.
Online discourse, people just need to go read comics.
Absolutely.
Like what I've been doing recently.
Hell yeah.
Wait, Noah, you can read?
I can read, but there's proof of it on this channel, but
I don't know if that's technically true.
There's proof of you stumbling over words.
There's proof of me being able to see words and sound them out.
I think you claim to read Wikipedia article summary of movies. You could be listening to podcasts explaining Wikipedia article summaries of movies. We don't know.
Oh, so I'm listening to a podcast explaining a Wikipedia article explaining a movie.
Yes.
We've added another layer onto this.
Yeah. There's it's like an onion. There's so many layers.
Exactly.
No, but I've been reading Grant Morrison's Batman for the first time.
Nice.
And it's really cool so far. I just finished R.I.P. today.
That is a run that is very hit and miss for me.
Yeah.
I don't love his take on Bruce Wayne.
I'm mostly positive on the run overall so far. I had some kind of issues with how the R.I.P. story wrapped up.
Oh, Jesus, Criminy!
And, oh, Jesus Christ.
Is that... Explain for me, because I've never read it. Is that set after Final Crisis? Do you have to read
No,
Final
it's right
Crisis?
before.
Weird.
Final Crisis happens during Morrison's run. Yes, it is very odd. For whatever reason, he named that specific story R.I.P. And then right after that is when Batman, quote unquote, dies.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not revealing too much about that, but that's the other big elephant in the room with this run. I have never read a Crisis.
Oh no!
I'm going to read Final Crisis.
Oh no!
Having said that, I can't say any of the previous Crises are that relevant to Final Crisis just based on what I know about it. 52 might be, but I've never read 52, and that's
52 is wonderful.
I'll watch a YouTube video about it.
Oh. Noah's not beating those can't read allegations.
It's more so I don't want to have to read a million things.
No, so I mean, I haven't read Final Crisis. I don't think it has... The Crises tend to stand alone in my experience, minus a couple things. The thing I've heard with Final Crisis is just that thing is incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Can't wait.
It's like...
I've heard it's very meta.
I don't know if anyone would call it Morrison's magnum opus, but that's certainly what he was going for. Heard it's ambitious.
Yeah, I'll see how I feel about it.
Tyler says Crisis on Two Earths is his favorite. That's not a crisis though, is it?
Is he referring to the
Are you talking about the movie?
story? But
Because typically when we say Crisis, we mean one of the universe rebooting ones.
right. The comic is just called Earth 2, I think. The movie that loosely adapts it is called Crisis on Two Earths.
Yeah. Now I know it's a like divisive book, but I do like Identity Crisis.
That one's really controversial. Just
And that's the exception though. Like that's not like a universe.
Right. That's not a Crisis book.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
No, the big ones are it's Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, and then Final Crisis, and then Flashpoint.
The Flashpoint.
And then
yeah,
Rebirth.
I think, isn't it technically the Flashpoint Crisis?
I think it's just called Flashpoint.
Am I on drugs?
No, it's just called Flashpoint, but for all intents and purposes, it is a Crisis.
Yeah.
It's just called Flashpoint.
Oh my
And then-
god.
The movie is called The Flashpoint Paradox.
Yes.
That might be what you're thinking of.
I hate this part of the game. I remember enjoying Crisis on Tour, or fuck, Infinite Crisis. I remember enjoying that one, even though I didn't quite know what was going on.
Yeah. Infinite
But I haven't read that in
Crisis,
forever.
That's the Jeff Johns one from the early or mid 2000s.
Yes.
That's when we brought the multiple
That's-
back.
Yeah, and that's what leads into 52 because.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if you know this, but 50 or know anything about 52. But the idea of that book is like a weekly comic printed for 52 weeks,
Oh shit.
and
Yeah.
it's. I swear to fucking God.
That's like when all the heroes take a break, right?
No, just Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are written off,
Well, I guess the Trinity. Yeah.
and it's like the rest of the DC universe without them. For God's sakes!
All right.
Fucking mind. No,
But yeah, I'm very excited to get to Batman and Robin, just because that seems like
It's a fun
the
movie.
most well, yeah. So I've seen the movie many times. That
That is the best part of his run.
Yeah, I've heard that's the best part of his run. That seems to be like the common
I think,
consensus.
and I think because I bought all 3 omnibuses because that's like a big important run, and I wanted to finally read it. I did force my way through Batman Inc., but it's the worst part.
Okay, even so, does it get good, or?
I don't think so. It does. If you ignore what comes later, it does kind of bring the whole thing back round. And you can
I
read
know
it as
it,
kind
it
of a
gets
singular
weird
piece.
because it starts pre-Flashpoint, but then continues after.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yes. It continued the tradition of even if there's a reboot, most of the Batman stuff is probably going to stay intact and keep going.
Have a good night,
DC
anime.
loves to do. Oh, later, man.
The 2 big things with Batman Inc. is I think the premise is stupid. And B, I think the writing just takes writing and art both are a major downgrade from what came before.
Because does that
Yeah.
start with Frank Quietly and then he's replaced
Oh.
or something?
So
I don't remember.
At the beginning of their run, it's I think Tony S. Daniel doing the
Okay,
art.
I didn't remember. Yeah, I never read Batman Inc., but I did read Batman and Robin with Dick Grayson and Damian. I love that run.
that stuff's so good. It's the
That
best
was
use of Jason Todd post under the Red Hood.
That's true. That is like the first like Batman #1 I ever get. That's like the first like monthly comic I get into and keep up with all the way into New 52.
Yeah. I hope that stuff turns me around on Damien, because so far I'm still not liking him.
That's the point.
So far, well, they're doing a good job of making me hate that kid.
That fucking kid.
That fucking kid. Yeah, but I might end up liking him more. Bounces off Dick.
I like Damien a lot. Yeah, once you get further into his character arc, it's just the problem with Damien is I don't think anybody but Morrison understands that character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's why you also, when you get to Inc., Morrison has like a plan for an ending for Damien that, of course, doesn't stick because it's in canon, and DC's like, no.
But he's Robin now
Damien's here to
forever.
stay. Forever, for some reason. Like,
I am
So
a little
he's-
shocked we haven't replaced him
He's
yet.
lasted so long.
I know. He, at this point, has he had a longer run as Robin than Tim Drake?
Yes.
He's not there yet. I'm trying to do the math in my head.
I would think so, because that's around 2006 when he's introduced.
Okay, but he's not Robin until like 09, right? I'm just forgetting some of the dates. Like Noah, correct me, but like Damien doesn't become
Yeah.
Robin until Batman and Robin.
Oh,
He
you're
hasn't-
right.
yeah,
The
he
2009
hasn't
story
officially-
arc, Battle for the Cowl.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, even then, we're coming up on 20 years.
20
been a
years,
while.
goddamn. It's been a while.
Because Tim Drake's entire run is just the only